I've been on a journey, taking my Belgian Ale homebrew recipe and transforming it into a pro brew. Today is the ultimate moment of truth. We're tasting it fresh from the fermenter, and guess what? I'm going to decide whether to take the risk and dry hop it. Will this be the secret ingredient that elevates it to greatness, or is it even too wet for the most heroic hops to save? Well, stick around as I will also be tasting the final packaged beer straight from the keg so we can find out. Rightio, so firstly, I'm back at the local brewing co today to check in on the Belgian Ale after its fermentation. It's time to taste test this thing and see if it's on track to become the perfect summer brew, even though it's currently pissing down rain outside. Classic irony, right? Brewing a refreshing beer for sunny days while getting drenched in the process. But hey, the beer doesn't care about the weather. So let's just dive into this preliminary tasting and see where it's headed, and to decide whether or not to dry hop this beer. So I'm tasting this beer straight out of the fermenter. So it's finished fermenting, but it isn't in its finished state. It's finished a bit stronger than anticipated, as the yeast fermented a little bit further than what we thought it would, at about 5.5% ABV. Not a huge difference, but it has certainly added a little bit more strength to the beer. On the nose, there's a distinct banana and clove character, typical of those Belgian esters, with some nice spicy phenolics and a little bit of subtle fruitiness. Pretty much what you'd expect from a Belgian style of beer, which is a good sign. As for the taste, it's got a nice hint of honey, thanks to that aromatic malt, which rounds out the flavours really well. You also get that signature Belgian yeast character coming through, along with a bit of a fuller, slightly sweet mouthfeel as well, which I think is coming from those sweet esters from the yeast. The finish is where it gets a bit interesting. There's a spicy or peppery note or kick at the end. Beer turned out a little bit drier than expected as well, which probably actually works in its favour, given that it is more drinkable, especially given the slightly higher ABV. Now, comparing with the homebrew version, which I brewed previously on the channel, so if you haven't seen that and the experiment we ran on that homebrew beer to help determine the outcome of this beer, then there will be a link in the description below and up in your screen now. If you haven't seen that, I encourage you to check that out. So this Pro Brew batch has a bit more of a stronger yeast character and is a little bit more malt forward, which makes sense given the higher alcohol content than the homebrew. Honestly, I love how the yeast is coming through in this beer, and a part of me is worried that a dry hop might overpower it and it might lose some of that Belgianness. However, thinking it through, I'm still going to go ahead with the dry hop using Motueka. I think they'll add a nice refreshing twist, just like it did in the homebrew beer, and give the beer a little bit more brightness and a little bit more uniqueness to it, while still letting some of that Belgian character shine through a bit more. And given that the yeast character of this Pro Brew is a bit stronger, I think there's a little bit more room to play with. Yes, it is a little bit of a gamble and a risk, but I'm aiming for something that's both refreshing and complex. Perfect for those sunny, hot summer days, even if it is pouring rain outside right now. If you love exploring craft beer, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can watch these craft beer exploration videos as soon as they come out. I do truly appreciate everyone who watches and subscribes. And don't forget to hit the like button to leave a beer sacrifice to the algorithm.
Right, it's now a couple weeks later and the beer has been kegged and is ready to go and is hopefully being picked up by the logistics company right now to go to the warehouse. But importantly, we have a sample of the beer right here to try firsthand and to give you an idea of what this beer is going to actually taste like. So this is the final product here, my Belgian-inspired pale ale. And I'm calling this beer Golden Tyrant. And there's some story behind that, which will be out on the website soon. But until then, let's just actually taste the beer, which is the important part, and see what we get. So, visually, it is a hazy deep gold. The head's died down a bit since I poured it, but the remaining head is quite fluffy, which is good. So we did end up going with the dry hop, which I hope I mentioned in this video. Otherwise, if I haven't, yeah, we did go with the dry hop. So I know the head brewer was quite excited when this came out and had the final tasting, which I was not able to do that in the brewery when it was finally ready because I was off overseas. So, but we're going to taste it now. The aroma is definitely got that Belgian vibe about it. You know, a little bit of sort of Belgian esters about it. You know, like a bit of like banana and clove. It's got a bit of a sweet smell to it as well. Yes, that's very nice. Very nice. I really love that. I really love those slightly sweet smelling esters of, you know, banana, clove, and some sort of slight fruitiness from Belgian yeast. Really gets me excited about having beer, that type of profile, and that's exactly what we've got here. So at least on the aroma, we have captured some of that Belgianness. So let's actually go in for a taste. So this beer does come in at 5.5%, which is about 0.5% stronger than what I was initially intending. But this was a little bit of a first for, well, for me, of course. I mean, it's only my second pro brew ever, and I've never brewed this on a pro, had this brewed for me on a pro brew system before, so complete first for me. And also for the pro, for the brewer who brewed this for me as well on that system, also a first brewing this using the yeast in this. So did attenuate slightly more than expecting. So we've got 5.5%, but that, yes, so the mouthfeel. Mouthfeel is actually quite light. It's not too heavy, quite soft, which is good. So it's definitely got a drinkable body about it, not too heavy, quite easy to drink. There's a little bit of hoppy bitterness in there with a slight sort of citrus edge to it, which is very nice, very refreshing and crisp, perfect for summer weather. Yeah, quite a light malt body as well, so not too heavy on the maltiness either. So it is quite a more of a moderate flavored beer, not a heavy flavored beer. So a little bit less than the dark wheat beer I made, which is you do get the sort of that clove character and that coffee coming through, whereas this is a bit more of a lighter flavored beer. Not a light beer, but a lighter flavored beer, more moderate in flavor, which makes it quite drinkable, quite easy to drink, despite being 5.5%. You could quite easily, you know, crush one of these on a hot day, which is really what I was going for. Yeah, and then the finish, there's a sort of like quenching bitterness on the finish, a little bit of that hoppiness too, a little bit of that sort of lemon lime citrus from the Motueka as well. And there's this, after all of that goes, after you get that bitterness and the hoppiness, you get this almost like savory, slightly peppery finish on the end. And I think that pepperiness is coming from the yeast, like a final yeast note in the beer, which is really nice. It does remind me of this Saison I had once at a craft beer bar where it was really like quenching and refreshing. It had this like peppery note about it from the yeast, and the finish was peppery, and it was just like really quenching and refreshing and really like, just like really moreish, like you just wanted to drink more of it. And I remember I was with a group of friends, and when we had that beer, we were just like, oh my God, like, wow, this is something. And so, well, it's not quite the same as that because this is more hoppy, but it does have a little bit of that character to it, that peppery finish on the end, which is why I do love a little bit of that sort of peppery finish for beers that are meant to be refreshing and quenching. And this is what this beer has on the finish. So overall, my thoughts on this beer is that it turned out great. Actually, I'm actually really happy with the flavor profile of this beer and the way it turned out. I think this is going to be quite easy drinking on a hot day during summer. Even on a cold day, it could be easy drinking. It's probably easy drinking all year round, but this was brewed specifically for summertime. And I think this will be a great summer offering for venues out there. And I just really love the sort of refreshing character about this beer. Some of the hoppiness. It's not over the top hoppiness. It's not like, say, like an IPA or even like some of those pale ales that have maybe more tropical notes. So the beer does have a little bit of bitterness to it, but it's quite clean. So it's not too difficult to drink. It's not like in your face bitterness. It's quite clean. And then there's a little bit of this hoppiness on the end, but it's not overly powerfully hoppy. And you still get those Belgian notes up front on the nose. And then even in the beer, you do get on the end some of that Belgian yeast character on the end as well. So I think it's turned out great. It's a great balance between having some of that Belgian character as well as some of those more refreshing, drinkable notes. Perfect for hot days, and I'm actually really loving this beer right now. Love the way that it has turned out, and for a pale ale, I think this is quite good actually. It's, you know, it's got those characteristics of pale ale where it's not too difficult to drink and is a little bit more accessible, but it is still interesting. It's certainly not a boring pale ale, and that is so that is really good, because I definitely didn't want a boring pale ale and I haven't got that. And yeah, I'm just super excited about this beer, and I think you'll love it too. So hopefully you will see it in a venue and on a tap near you soon.
Are you an Australian beer retailer, pub, bar, bottle shop, or just place of beer worship that would love to have a unique independent craft beer offering on your taps? Then hit me up at info@jkbbrewing.au to organise a tasting today. And check out the JKB Brewing website or the other videos on the channel to learn about the dark wheat beer that I also have on offer. Links are down in the description below.
By the way, if you're not aware, this is based off a homebrew recipe with a slight twist. So if you haven't seen that video, you can check it out here. Otherwise, if you want to explore some other craft beer things that I've got going on the channel, then there should be a wonderful playlist that's appeared right now that you can view and enjoy. Until next time, cheers.